What's up, engineering folks? In today's video we're going to be continuing from where we last dropped off. In the last video we spoke about and implemented our one-to-one messaging feature, but we did not complete that feature, and so in this video we're going to be completing all of those, and at the end of this video we're going to have the one-to-one messaging feature working right in our Slack clone. Okay, so last week we stopped at building out our inbuilt components, and we're able to stop the text box from auto submitting. So all we just basically need to do is to grab the inputs that the user is trying to type in and get it displayed on our chat container. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be adding is an element reference. We want our chat input to have an autofocus. Okay, so that works. What that basically means is your user is going to be ready to type in. Immediately your user starts typing, its text is going to show in the input. That's basically what that means. Okay, so having done that, we would need to initialize our chat hub here as well, because we are going to be sending some messages to our chat hub. So we might need to initialize our SignalR connection in this component as well. Let's do that quickly. Okay, you know what? We actually have this logic existing, so let's just get it from somewhere. Okay, so that's done. The last thing we're gonna do is to start our connection. So by now you must have learned how to initialize your SignalR connection. I haven't done this thousands of times, right? Not literally, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so that is done. The next thing we're going to do very quickly is to code out our sending logic. So when our user hits enter, what happens? That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be tying this with a method that we're going to be writing out very quickly called send. Going to be making that method available. All right, so there are a couple of things we want to do. We want to send the message to our chat hub, and we also want to save the message in our database locally. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be sending a message to our chat hub and saving it to our database locally. How about we dive right in? So you might wonder why we have this check in place. So the reason why we have this in place is because we don't want our user to be able to send a message when he or she has not clicked on a particular user's DM link. All right. The DM link is the listed user by the site. So, and that can only happen when you're entering the application for the first time. Entering the application for the first time, we don't want you to be able to click to be able to send a message, because you're sending a message basically to no one. Okay, so obviously you know what this is doing. This is calling a particular method in our chat hub and is sending all of this data. So our message inputs ought to be the message that is retrieved from the input box. All right, so it seems we have not declared that yet, so let's have that declared quickly. Private string message input. We can have that tied by using our bind property. Can bind message input. Okay, sweet and fine. All right, so that's the first fold. Second agenda would be to create a message model so we can have it saved in our database. ID, which would be the email of the user we're sending the message to, which is technically our receiver. Okay, so that ought to be our email, and the way we are going to get that is actually by we're going to require that as an input. Remember, we said we do not want to hit the database for information unnecessarily, right? So we're going to take advantage of the input and output system, all right, to get some data that we can pass around, this being one of them. So we're going to make this a parameter. Okay, so let's quickly have our message service developed. Our message service is would obviously, as the name implies, would be the service that is responsible for moving our messages from one place to another. All right, so let's have that worked on quickly. All right. Okay, so that can come in handy if it's ever gonna be. So let's create a concrete implementation of our contracts. Okay, so what we basically did was to do a link query that gets conversation between this particular user, where this particular user could be the sender and this particular user can be the receiver. Either of both can play both parties. So, and we included the user's entity object, if you will. We ordered by created dates and we executed the query. Yep, that's that about that. And for this is almost basically the same thing. but in this case it's only gonna be one-sided. So we are getting all conversation where the message is actually coming from this particular user, regardless of where it's going to. That's the difference. Yeah. So we're getting all conversation where this particular user was involved. Either he was the sender or he was the receiver of the message, regardless. Okay, we can open up this. We're just going to be taking 20 of those. Okay, so haven't done this. Let's go register our service. Oops, I forgot we had a better way of doing that. We do that by installers. So do a copy and paste. iMessage service. Okay, so let's go back to our chat inputs. Should be able to successfully save our message now. Okay, so that's that about our send method. Yeah, basically it takes our resource. Our resource is basically the user's URL string, all of the information we appended on the query string. It splits it to get the user's ID and the email. We send a message to our chat hub over here, and we prepare to save the message in our database so we can retrieve it. Okay, so let's quickly do a cleanup by implementing our disposable async. Okay, so that is done. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done on our chat inputs. So let's go back up into our chat container and see what's next we need to do. Let's go back up to our chat container. Okay, so remember our chat input now takes in a parameter which is user email. So you might want to fill that in. So it takes user email. Okay, and we had worked on our messages, and okay, so how about we just test our application and see if all works as expected. Okay, looks like we have a problem. Let's see what's failing. Oh, so I'll just copy this. I think this is because we used tax instead of value tax. So I'll just have this. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is handling the clicking of a particular user. All right, so when you click on a particular user, what happens? Right, how does the system get itself ready for receiving a message? All right, so let's go to our side menu. I'm going to our side menu, and you notice that we already have some structure for our link. All right, so we already have this structure. All right, so basically where we are going to be handling that click is in our chat container. So let's go to our chat container. So here's what we do, right? We're going to render our chat container based on certain conditions, right? So of course, the reason why we have nothing work here is because we have not actually handled the URL. So once we see that URL, we know a particular user is about to send a message or is currently in another user's DM, right? So we make the flow ready by firstly getting the conversation between the sender user and the receiver user. And, the sender user is currently in the receiver user's DM. All right. So we're going to take advantage of that. So the way we're going to get that done is to override one of the
lifetime method. This do I collection. I kind of have two message class. One is a component and one is a model. So there's a clash going on between them. Hence the reason why we have to use the namespace beside of it.
Okay, so you notice that we have quite a number of things stocked up in here. We have the email, we have the user ID, and we have the username. And that exactly is what we're trying to get here, right? Trying to get the first, which is the key, right? You notice we have this DM, that's the first. Second, which is the email. Third, which is the user ID, and fourth, which is the username, which has the third key. And that's what we're trying to get. And all of this information is basically stuffed up here so that we do not have to hit the database. And I've said this 1,000 times now, but you get it. Okay, so basically you understand what's going on here. We're trying to get conversation from the sender ID, which is myself, and the resource, that's the person we're sending message to. All right, and we're going to make use of auto mapper to do some mapping duties. Right, so let's quickly create a mapping profile. We need to be able to map the messages to the messages back and forth. Right, so we're going to call this Slackify profile. So AutoMapper is basically a library that helps you maps values from one property to another in an object, basically. So that helps you a lot, instead of having to do this dot this equals this dot this equals this. That's gonna be a waste of time. So you can basically just have AutoMapper installed, configured, and it does the rest for you. Sweet library. You should use it. Okay, we have that installed. We're going to create a profile real quick. Everything from AutoMapper, do a CTOR, and we simply create a map. Creating a map from messages to message box. Okay, and we want to have some customization work going on in here. This is weird. Okay, so have models. It's here. Okay, sometimes you have to do that for peace to reign. Right, so the next thing we might need to do is to register our auto mapper service. So let's go into our installer, service, installers, installer, service installer. So basically, we're going to do add auto mapper, type of Snackify profile. That's it. So can bring in auto mapper and we can successfully execute our mapping strategy. Mapper the map. Models, message, channel to I collection. Collection, message box. So we're going to be transforming the messages coming from database, which is of the model message, into message box. Right. So you can say this.user messages equals to our message box, the lists, transforming that into a list, and this dot is loading equals false. Okay, so let's do a switch real quick. We're going to be switching based on the resource key, and our resource key is, for now we have just DM. In the nearest future we're going to be having CH, which stands for channel. All right, so we want to be able to detect when we are in a private DM and when we are in a channel. All right, so when we're in a DM, chat header title is going to be the resource name. Let's call status change so we can have a reload, and we break it off right there. Right, and I said in the nearest future we're also going to have the case of CH, which stands for channel, but for now we do not have that implementation, so I'm going to break it off there as well. Finally, we also break it off here. All right. Okay, so this should successfully help us achieve what we're trying to achieve. And yeah, I think the last thing would be to actually add our send message method in our chat hub. We've not done that yet. So what happens when a user sends a message? We have to add that logic into our chat hub. Okay, so let's create that here. Public Okay, so if our receiver's key is equal to our sender's key, it basically means the person is trying to send him or herself a private message. All right, so what we're basically going to do is to send a message to all of the connections, because I've noticed that there are some times where a user can actually have more than one connection attached to his key, right? And we cannot say which is the existing connection for some reason, so we have to make sure we cater for that experience as well. Right, so but in this case we are only going to be sending this to our receiver, right? Because this is more like a personal DM, personal message. Otherwise, we're going to be sending this to both the receiver and the sender, so they can both receive the message. All right, so we've catered for that of the receiver, and this is going to be that of the sender, so they can both have that message. Okay, so let's see if we have the receive private method ready on our clients. Okay, so this is it. We have it ready on our clients. I think we are good actually. Let's run our application and see for ourselves. All right, so all of these are the messages that I've previously sent to this particular user. So it picked all of our previously sent conversation up, and you can see it picked it up here. So let's say, hey Zion. So our message is not sending for some reason. Let's go back to debug. Okay, so I found a problem. This ought to be at on click. All right, take notes. This ought to be at on click, right? Because it's an event. All right, so let's try again. Okay, so you can see both of our users listed. Let's go to Zion, and I want to chat with Damis. So hey Zion. Okay, so you can see our message sent immediately. Alagbala Damilola sends this hey Zion, and from here as well. And you'll notice that we have an auto scroll feature already in place, right? So the more we send the messages, the recent one appears below. So let's check this out as well. Hey Zion. Hello Dami. You can see that's up here. All right, so this is beautiful. It's awesome. Brings us to the end of our one-to-one messaging feature. To be honest, guys, this is just a base for you to launch on. You can build on it. I want to see different implementation. I want to see channels. I want to see threads. I want to see mentions and all of those cool stuff. I want to see the ability to switch between different accounts. And if there's a particular feature you want me to work on, let me know in the comment section below so we can work on that. All right, guys, it's the software engineering channel. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're joining us for the first time, or you've been watching but you've been watching and leaving. Right, it's time to subscribe. Okay guys, see you on the next one. Bye bye.